Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Roma Press live stream. I'm your host, Andy, and co editor of Roma Press. Thank you for being here with me. Um, I was hoping today to have a more relaxing chat, maybe about a variety of topics, not Roma only, seeing as we are in yet another international break. So go figure. No club football, which means also, less stress, not having to think about Roma for the duration of this international break. Hopefully, we only get good news throughout this break. So far, fingers crossed that everybody that is out on international duty is going to come back healthy. Buongiorno, hello. One of our patrons is already watching. Thank you so much to the Roma Press patrons. There is 217 of you, and John and I can't thank you enough for your support. It really means a lot. We started way back then, and to see at 217 people supporting the show and the website really means a lot, and it helps us keep going. So if you would like to help the show and the website, if you would like to become a patron and get some extra benefits such as extra episodes, early access to the podcast episodes, as well as some cool gifts, and also the inclusion to the crazy, psychotic, yet also fun and endearing Roma Press patron group chat on WhatsApp, then you can go to patreon.com/Roma Press, and it will really mean a lot to us. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I believe we're right now we're in the 935 zone, so we're almost there, guys. And please like the live stream so that more people can join us, and this live stream can get more visibility. Thank you, Johnny, for your support. It's a pleasure doing. I come on here whenever I can, but it also gives me a lot of pleasure to interact with you guys. It's nice to have a more direct line of communication. Afternoon, Joey. Thank you, Joey, for being here with us. Joey, you've joined us a number of times. We got Anthony Lavari, our good patron. Thank you, Anthony, for following us on your magnificent TV screen. Joey says, I feel confident this season Roma can be fine without Paolo and Pelle for a little bit of time. Yeah, I wanted to get to those topics. I wanted also to perhaps mention these rumors swirling around of Nicolo Zaniolo potentially also being at the center of some gambling investigation. Maybe we can talk also about what's going on at Napoli. I think it's interesting because of how it changes the whole complexity of Serie A this season. Damir Damir says, with this microphone you look like a singer from Jonas Brothers. Only the microphone. I was hoping for the whole look. But thank you, Damir. We got Ju, our good patron. Ciao a tutti. Only here for a brief period. We'll watch the rest tomorrow. Perfect. Thank you, Ju. It means a lot to me. Even honestly, these things, even I know today for a fact will not get more than say 30 people watching because it's the international break, but I appreciate every single person that is on here. And if you even take 2 minutes out of your busy schedule to tune in to me talking about Roma, then I'm more grateful than you can imagine. Hello, guys. We can see. Nice. I'm finally able to join a live stream. Yeah, welcome. Greeting from Lima, Peru. Wow, awesome. That's the first one, I think. That's the first one. We've got plenty of international viewers in this live stream. We get people from Singapore, Australia, Los Angeles, Chicago, and on and on and on. So we got people from Gambia. We got people from Morocco. So Joey, I hope Garcia is still the coach when they face Roma. Yes. Um, Hi, what is the big news you just mentioned? Hope Zaniolo isn't betting dope style. No, I mean Zaniolo got supposedly. So okay, let's perhaps open with something that is not too Roma related, or maybe in some way. So the big news in Italy is that Fagioli, Juventus midfielder, young kid, who last season made it into the first team, he was caught for calcio scommesse, which is gambling. So online betting on and he's now at the center of an investigation. And the Juventus are very concerned. It could mean that Fagioli could be, if found guilty, could be suspended for 3 years. So the consequences of this are extremely serious. Then obviously a guy a guy who's very well connected in the world of football, this guy called, I think his full name is Fabrizio Corona. I don't want to get his first name wrong, but I think his last name is Corona. um, this is a guy that's been in touch with he used to be a paparazzi. I believe he used to be a shady paparazzi in the late 90s. And he got caught doing a lot of bad stuff over the years. And now he supposedly has his own, like, media agency or whatever. And he's very well connected into the world of football. And so yesterday, when Fagioli, the whole news of Fagioli with Juventus being caught betting came out, Corona said, okay, well, you're gonna find out that there's more Italian players doing the same. And today he mentioned Tonali, so the ex Milan midfielder who now plays for Newcastle, and Nicolo Zaniolo, also involved in betting, which now Zaniolo is at Aston Villa on loan from Galatasaray. But supposedly Zaniolo was already betting during his time at Roma. So we come full circle back to Roma. So more or less, this is the situation in Italy. There is a lot of stuff going on. I think a lot of a lot of players are gonna start trying to run their PR campaign. Even today, Zaniolo, I felt like something was wrong when Zaniolo started releasing so many interviews one after the other. Even today, he released an interview where he went over how he still loves Roma and the fans love him, and it could have ended differently, but it's fine. It's this is how it goes, and he would never have taken the number 10 shirt from Totti. All that stuff to I guess get closer to the fans, and not end up being I mean, he was chased out of Roma, so now he's just trying to build maybe a more positive image, and then boom, this news drops, and we'll see how that develops. But supposedly Zaniolo was already involved in betting when he was at Roma. Especially, I think the one mention was made was him betting on Roma's exit in the Coppa Italia. And as we know, Roma crashed out of Coppa Italia last season in a horrendous fashion against, I believe, Cremonese. And supposedly Zaniolo had money on that game. Yes, it is related to Zaniolo of Roma. Will it harm us in any way? No. These are things that can only harm the player and also the club that he's currently playing for. It doesn't matter. I mean, it like Tonali with Milan. Who gives a shit? Milan are sold him to Newcastle. They bagged 60 million, and they're very happy. Thank you, Larry. Larry from Ghana says, you look good and matured in your program. Well, thank you, Larry. It means a lot to me. And it means a lot to me that you're watching all the way from Ghana. So greetings from my side. So from Spain currently. And I'm really impressed that we got even viewers in Ghana. So, yes, Zaniolo is in trouble. Roma are not in trouble. This is stuff that comes up and it deals. I mean, if it happens like with Juventus, it happens that the club were supposedly aware of it, because that's what the big thing is with Juve, is that the club were supposedly aware of this problem, and Fagioli even came out, I think yesterday, immediately after that announcement was made of the investigation, and admitted to it. Then we got a problem. So that's that's not good, but that's, that's, again, this is the world of football, so all kinds of stuff happens behind the scenes, and we don't know anything about it until exactly then later on it comes out. So for Juve, it's a big it's a big pain, because they are already dealing with the Paul Pogba situation. So Paul Pogba tested positive on doping, and um, that's so the Juve are taking hit after hit, especially after celebrating their anniversary last yesterday, I think, and yeah, that's not good. So for the sake of the national team, I hope nothing is proven true. Well, Vince, we have to accept it that footballers are footballers. They're still people, and I don't know how many IQ points Zaniolo is going to score. So he's not the smartest kid on the block. Okay, so I wouldn't have too much trouble believing these accusations. How am I enjoying Spain, Joey? I'm enjoying it very, very much. I'm in the Canary Islands, and I love this place. I love the climate. I love the beaches. I love the people. I love everything about it. It's a place that I consider home away from home. But alas, let us get into the substance of the show, and then we can talk about anything else that comes up. If you guys have talking points, if you have questions, please shoot them at me, and we'll have a conversation. So we got the latest news for Roma. Roma head into this international break relatively on a good high, right? In good form. They won games that they should have and had to win. So it's never granted with Roma. These results are never granted. I thought, and I think the majority of you thought as well, that the match against Cagliari was easily our best performance of the season, even better than Empoli, because of just the circumstances, the fact that they were playing away from home against a team that notoriously gives them problems, and they showed up and showed out, and awesome. That's a great way to go into an international break, and not having your fans feel miserable and sad for the entire duration of it. But the win against Cagliari came at a cost, because we are set to lose Paulo Dybala for quite some time. The initial reports say that, this being a knee sprain, it should keep him out a month. That's the initial prognosis. But we all know that Paulo Dybala is a player that is very fragile, and also very self-conscious about his own physical fitness levels, right? And he knows when his body is not responding. So I would presume that it will be a longer period of recovery than the initial month that Roma have established. And also to add salt to injury, we got Lorenzo Pellegrini out. Lorenzo Pellegrini finally picks up form, scores in 2 consecutive games, and then boom, goes out with an injury, also sidelined for at least 4 weeks. So supposedly they both, in theory, they can both be back for the derby, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is on the 9th of November. But we all know that these are two players that have complicated injury histories, and I don't think Roma and Mourinho and his staff will do anything to actually rush them back. And so now we can get into the so-called meat of the program. So we can discuss, what are the consequences now, as opposed to what were the consequences of such a situation a year ago, right? Because losing both Paulo Dybala and Lorenzo Pellegrini a year ago, I think we can all say it would have been a nightmare scenario. we obviously were dealing with Tammy Abraham that wasn't scoring, and Andrea Belotti that was nowhere to be found, and actually was dealing with several minor injuries that he had sustained in the opening to the season because of his lack of preparation throughout the summer. The only thing keeping us afloat last season, despite the fact that this season it seems like the opening to the season has been disappointing to say the least. Last season at this time, we had a very solid defense, which was keeping us afloat. But when it came to going forward, we had half of the goals we have now. So we had about 12 to 13 goals at this point in time. And it didn't look good without Paulo Dybala on the pitch. We'll remember when he goes down against I think first it was against Inter, right? He went down against Inter, scores in the Inter match, goes down, comes back after what was it, 2-3 weeks, and then goes down again against Lecce, and then he's out until the World Cup. So I remember the mood in here wasn't too great. People were not confident about Roma without Dybala at all, because he was our main driving force. He was the main creator. He was the man on whom Jose Mourinho relied so much. He basically gave him carte blanche and said, go do whatever you want to do. Just give him the ball and let him do the magic. And without him on the pitch, we missed that spark. And Tammy wasn't producing. The whole team looked stale, and we couldn't figure out what the hell to do on a football pitch. And it seemed like these guys had no idea what to do going forward. And the few times that they did, the chances would not end up in the back of the net. So what changed? Because I see now we have a lot of people also saying that the thing is we look good even without them. There's no need to hurry for both of them, and I think that's true. We are looking at a different Roma this time around, to the point that I even think some of you, and even I did too for a while, I was like, even without Paulo Dybala, perhaps we look even better. This Roma team, because without Paulo Dybala, you are guaranteed to see Andrea Belotti play from the start. And I think that's the general consensus now, is that then we want to see Andrea Belotti. Andrea Belotti gets off to a hot start in the league and in the Europa League. 2 goals in the Europa League, 3 goals in Serie A, 2 assists. So that's been very encouraging to see Belotti meet the moment, a player that went without a single goal to his name all of last season in Serie A, who has the opportunity to leave. He could have left Roma, decides to activate the option in his contract and extend his stay. He had the option to leave, decides not to, goes into the season, and the expectations are, well, you will have to now show up, because you did not do that last season and we suffered greatly because of it. And that's exactly what he's been doing. And I think that's the main thing about this version of Roma, is that perhaps the 2 players that were supposed to have the impact that they're having now, so Lukaku and Belotti, that's something that Roma, we haven't seen that much of. I mean, Dybala did that last season, sure, as the fresh signing, the big marquee signing, and his impact was unbelievable. But this season, it was about these 2 guys. So Belotti, a player who was already here, and Lukaku, a player who comes in on the last day of the transfer market. 2 players that needed to show up, and they do just that. And that is extremely important for Roma, because Roma need all the reassurances they can get right now. Without Dybala and Pellegrini, you could have been looking at a Roma team that is who's gonna score, right? At this time last season, who's gonna score? Who's gonna be the driving force of the attack? I don't know if we had anybody that comes close to that. And now instead we're actually seeing this team free flowing in the attack, and they're scoring way more. They got like 25 goals so far this season. When I said it with John on the podcast, we when it was prior to the Empoli match, and I said, when was the last time we scored more than 3 goals? But the Roma now are doing just that, and they're showing that they can do it. They're capable of it. The quality was always there, but it's nice to know that it's there now when you need it, because Dybala and Pellegrini both out a month. You're looking to play against Monza, against Slavia Prague, against Inter without them. So these are games that last season, I mean, we would have been tearing our hair out, but now we can confidently say, yeah, we'll handle it. We'll handle it. Let's see what the comments say. It's not a bad thing to say a team looks bad without the mega star, says Nino. It forces the team to work harder mentally and physically and gives recognition that is not given when the big players are on. I absolutely agree. Rocco, what changed? Is Cristante in a more advanced role? Awar moving the ball into attacking third? Belotti's confidence high? And most of all, more competition in the squad? Absolutely. Although I see that people are already worried about Cristante moving back into the midfield and Chris Smalling and Diego Llorente taking their place in the starting 11, because that's also the news, is that Chris Smalling, Diego Llorente will recover in a few days. They will take part in the in group training activities leading up to the game against Monza after the international break, and they are expected to start. So I don't know what that means for Evan Dica. I don't know what that means for Brian Cristante and Eduardo Bove, because if you move Brian Cristante from the defense into the midfield, you're looking at having to move Eduardo Bove from the starting 11. And I don't know if we want to go into that direction, right? Brian Cristante, as we said it before, was doing wonders and was probably the only consistent player to start the season, prior to Romelu Lukaku coming in and scoring the goals for us. Brian Cristante was the guy, and now that you are having to move him back to the midfield, you would have to say no to Eduardo Bove. I don't know how willing we are to do that. I don't know how willing we are to take Evan Dica and put him on the bench. And I don't know if those are exactly the options that Mourinho is considering, right? Because perhaps he could choose to have Evan Dica start and Diego Llorente on the bench. But I think we have to appreciate the fact that we are at this point where the options are there. Whether you like it or not, whether you like the transfers or not, whether you like some names or not, the options are there. Doesn't mean, we're not talking about scrubs. We're not talking about Serie B players. We're talking about solid players whom everybody on here rates to an extent. I see a lot of people are becoming fans of Paredes. I can say that as well about myself. I see people backing Eduardo Bove. I see people getting excited about Houssem Aouar. That means that there is the option to change, to rotate. And I think that's what we would have sold our kidneys for at this point last season, where it seemed like, oh, Dybala is out. We got nothing. We got nothing. Somebody give us an idea what to do. What can we do? And it seemed like the world was ending. So let's see what else you guys have to say. Samuel, fans are too quick to fear about Roma defense. The defense would be good in the long run. It's having some new personnel in it. Would be solid after blending better. I guess with the defense, the fear is always because when it clicks, and now it seems that the defense with Cristante in there seems to be clicking. Obviously, we take into consideration the fact that yes, we faced Frosinone, we faced Servette, and we faced Cagliari. So I get it. But there are also things that we did wrong when we played against Salernitana and Hellas Verona, which we did not see in those last few games. So it means that a certain stability with Cristante back there was found. And now to having to strip all of that and put Diego Llorente and Chris Smalling, who haven't seen the pitch in over a month, is a bit, I'm not the biggest fan of that. um, Joey says 19 in Serie A, second in the league. What a turnaround. 19 goals. Yeah, exactly. 25. I meant 25 all season in all competitions. Um, Julian, in my opinion, Belotti and Lukaku is actually better than Dybala and Lukaku because their play styles are working better together. So I'm not worried about next few games. I think it's just because Belotti does things in a way that facilitates more a guy like Lukaku. I mean, it's easier for Lukaku to coexist with somebody like Belotti, whereas Dybala is a very complicated partner. Dybala, when have we seen Dybala thrive with somebody else? Perhaps Morata, maybe Cristiano Ronaldo, although already at that point, Dybala was basically playing in a whole other position under Massimiliano Allegri. Sorry, or who was it? Was it Sarri? I don't remember. But anyway, it's not. I don't have a particular recollection about Dybala getting along very well with somebody else up front. So I think it's only logical to, if Belotti is there and if he's delivering the performances that we've seen him deliver recently, then you can't think twice about it, because it would be a waste. It would be a waste to basically put this guy who's been waiting and waiting and waiting to perform the way he's performing now for over a year. And then what? And then you're like, well, you're going to get the final 15 minutes? No way. We've seen Belotti get his 15 minutes. We've seen him play the 10. We've seen him play the 5 minutes. But it's a shame, because we know that this guy is capable of much more. Anthony, with regards to the Zaniolo saga, I'm now wondering if Zaniolo and Tonali moved out of Italy because of the potential repercussions if they in fact did better on their own teams. I suppose it's possible. Zaniolo tried to hide in Turkey. Yeah, Zaniolo, I mean, I don't know. We have to see, if there are further reports into that. I do think that Milan were in an awful hurry to get rid of Tonali, who was arguably one of the best players over the last few years. And somehow they just didn't bat an eye and sold him to Newcastle. So I don't know if I dislike the Paredes transfer, says Ju, but he's had some good performances of late. Paredes is growing into something. With Paredes, Mourinho said it time and time again, I'm not working with a young player. I'm working with a finished product. This is a player who's, in Mourinho's words, this is a player who already has the whole bag of tricks. So the only thing I can do is now to put him in a position where he can succeed and where he can show those tricks. I think in the beginning it was much tougher on Paredes to get acclimated to the things that Mourinho was asking of him. But since Eduardo Bove's introduction to the starting 11, we've seen a different Paredes. We've seen a guy who's lively, who's strong, who's committed, who plays the full 90 minutes and doesn't make you feel that, oh, he's tired, he doesn't have any minutes in his legs left. I'm encouraged by what I've seen from him, and I'm encouraged by what I've seen from Cristante, who today we had an article up on the website. Cristante has missed 12 games in 4 years at Roma. In the last 4 years at Roma, he's missed 12 games. Because it's been 4 years since Cristante has been an undisputed starter. So we remember when he comes in from Atalanta, he sits on the bench most of the time. When he doesn't, he plays this sort of hybrid role next to Daniele De Rossi and Nzonzi. It's not looking good. A lot of people get on his back. But then with Fonseca, Cristante starts to climb the hierarchy, becomes vice captain. With Mourinho, he plays every single game. Last season, he played, I think he skipped 2 games last season. So it's unreal what we are seeing from Cristante. Cristante could potentially enter our I think the club's top six or top seven of players in terms of appearances made for the club by the end of his time at Roma. So that's impressive. Um, for now, we can't rely too much on our defense. Shaky. It's better to press and score more, especially against a smaller team. I think that's what they're trying to do, right? I mean, that's we are seeing Roma put their foot on the pedal, which is not something we saw last season. How many times have we seen this team score more than 3 goals last season? I ain't got the answer to that. This season, it's clear that Rui Patricio is aging, his form is declining. Okay, Chris Smalling. This is worrying for me that Chris Smalling is back to having this sort of chronic injury, which keeps him out for a month, which is something that he had happened to him. I think it was in Fonseca's second season, so that was not good. And in Mourinho's first season as well, he was not looking good. Um, I think that's the worrying part. And it's Diego Llorente, good defender. Can he change the whole dynamic of the defense? I don't think so. So with the defense, as you say, it's a bit sketchy. We have to. It's kind of like with the attack last season, where we had to. You go from the game to game not knowing what exactly you're gonna get. That's why you really have to make advantage of the fact that you have a world class player in Romelu Lukaku. Like it or not, I know we have fans and not fans of Romelu Lukaku, but like it or not, at a club like Roma right now, Romelu Lukaku is a world class player. Let's face it, what he's doing right now is exactly what you signed him for. That's You signed him to deliver, and he's delivering, right? With Belotti, it's the same thing now. He's finally delivering. He's finally turning back the clock to that Belotti that we saw for years carry the Torino side on his back. And now that's why his back looks the way it does. But it's so that's the encouraging part, and that's where you have to, if you're Mourinho, you have to keep putting pressure and importance to that attacking phase. You have to find a way, I think, also to integrate Houssem Aouar on a more regular basis. The guy said it after Cagliari. He said, I have no problem in scoring 7 goals per season. So if he can say that confidently, then you have to put him in a position for him to be able to deliver that promise. GL, I think it would have been good if we had kept Ibanez. Everyone has bad seasons. Look at Zaleski. Ibanez wasn't that bad, but we needed the money. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Mourinho was a fan of him. He was very popular in the locker room. The only necessity was the money, and we knew that either him or Tammy were going to be sold this summer. Nino, giving Bovin the rest may seem scary, but it is not a bad thing. Sorry, I lost your. Oh, there you go. But it is not a bad thing. Bove may lose out to seniority, but that will only push him more. And he's already so talented that it's hard to ignore, especially against smaller clubs. Bove gives you an energy that you don't get from many players on the squad, and I think that's what's benefited Paredes a lot, is that Paredes now doesn't have to do the dirty work. Paredes now doesn't have to engage in chasing the opponent around the pitch. Paredes now can build from the back with somebody that is next to him and does the dirty work for him. And Bove doesn't have any problems in doing that. He doesn't want to be a playmaker, or at least right now he's not trying to do that. I don't think that would be part of Bove's skill set. I don't see him as the most technical player, and I think it would really do him good to just keep on working with whatever he has. So far, he's started every single game for the past what was it, 5 games. So it's been very, very encouraging to finally see him get the minutes that he deserves, I think, for his growth. Ciao, Andy. Jeff in Seattle. Thank you so much, Jeff. Although moving to your Bologna next summer, fantastic. With us, condolences for going to Bologna in the summer, because, man, you're going to get ready for a heat wave. A lot of humidity, Jeff. So get some AC going, because Bologna in the summer is deadly. With Asmoon excluded from Europa League roster, is Tammy eligible to play in the competition if when he recovers? Yes. Yes, Tammy is on the list. Don't ask me how or why, but he's on the list, even though he's got an ACL injury. Um, mind you, by the way, we can also I can only also mention, if you haven't seen it on the website, the Eduardo Bove. There is the news that he's very close to extending his time at Roma. His agent and Roma are working on a new deal for him until 2027, I believe, because right now his contract is until 2025. The Roma want to extend his deal, and they want to raise his salary, because right now Bove earns a little over 250,000 euros, and Roma want to round it up to a million. Julian, also, I think if we want ton press further up front, you need someone to actually put in the work. With Belotti does much more than, yeah, absolutely. Dybala is a huge plus when you're trying to do something out of nothing. And whereas Belotti, we saw it against Cagliari even. I mean, that first goal, the way he wins back the ball like a fullback, that you don't see a striker believe. That level of commitment is something that has made Belotti one of the names in Serie A. Unfortunately, it was for a side like Torino, so he never really got the recognition that he deserved. But that first goal that Roma score, where he wins back the ball, and it seems like nobody else on the team believes in winning back that ball, is great. And it cements, I think it cements his position in the starting 11. Like, that's, if you give me that level of effort, you better believe I'm putting you in the starting lineup. Everyone liked the stream, says Nicholas. Yes, guys, we got 36 people watching, so I'm really happy with the fact that some of you took the time to follow this during the international break. But I need more likes, so if you can drop a like, it really helps us. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so that next time that we go live, or an episode of the podcast drops in video, you can watch it right here. We got Samuel, who says Belotti and Aouar can help fill the absence of Dybala and Pellegrini. Just make sure Bov is in the mix in it all. Yes, and honestly, with the schedule that Roma have, Bov is one of those players that I don't think he feels fatigue as much as anyone else on that team. So you just keep putting him on there, because what's the worst thing that can happen? I think the thing about that Genoa defeat, which a lot of us interpreted as a very, very, very low point throughout Mourinho's tenure, that was definitely one of the low points, along with that comeback win by Juventus 4-3 in his first season. And last season, we can also say the defeat with Cremonese in the Coppa Italia. It's that we saw this team hit rock bottom. Like, I saw with that defeat with Genoa, we all saw the same match. We saw a team that just stopped believing and flat out gave up. And having seen that, I don't think you can do much worse. Like, that's the bottom of the barrel stuff. And I think going forward, that's going to be a reference point for Mourinho and his men, sort of like a reminder that if you don't show up, this is what's going to happen. Remember the defeat in Genoa where you got embarrassed at the Marassi? What was your excuse then? That you lost Diego Llorente to injury? That's your excuse for not showing up and being completely dominated by a lesser opponent? I think that's it. Those things can work out really well in your favor if you treat them right. If you consider them, if you rewatch, if you learn from your mistakes, I think those games can definitely do wonders for you. Anthony says, I agree with your assessment on Paredes, Jew. Minus the Genoa match, he was awful in that match. Well, find me somebody that was good in that game. Perhaps, again, with the exception of Cristante. Nino, Paredes is a clear example of Mourinho's specialty. He's a manager you bring in whenever your team is developed and ready to win. He does okay with the youth, but he excels with older developed players. Yeah, well, I think because that's right, it appeals to him more. Although now he seems to be embracing the role of the mentor, the wise old man who gives an opportunity to the young players, like for example we saw recently with Francesco D'Alessio, right? Or prior to that, Bove and Zaleski, who is now lost, and now Zaleski, as we saw. Decided he with Mourinho he made and the Polish national team, he made the decision, and he decided to sort of drop back to the under 21 squad of Poland, and so he left on international duty. But despite having been called up with the senior team last year for the World Cup and being and playing in the World Cup with Poland's senior team, now that Zaleski's form has dropped significantly, he decided to return to the under 21 squad. And let's not forget that Zaleski is 20 years old, so it's this 21, sorry, but this is a guy who made his debut at 19 in a position that was not his. And yes, he's lost, he's not delivering, he's barely played 200 minutes this season, but there has to be a way out of this. Tobias, that crazy Canadian guy is so tough, a warrior for sure. Oh, you mean Cristante? Absolutely. Rocco, it's worth noting that Italy doesn't treat its young stars very well. As soon as we have potential world class players, Italian media, fans, coaches mute their hype. France, England, Spain do opposite. Well, Rocco, but could you list me the names of the players that you really claim, in your opinion, are world class? Because there's, I think, a difference between the hype and what you actually get. Like, a player may not be hyped enough, but if he's good, he's good. If he's good, he's good. Like Tonali. I would say a world class player. Tonali is a world class player from the younger generation. You got maybe Udoge, who's now finally made his first call up for Italy's senior squad after so many times playing for the under 21 squad, despite Italy not having good fullbacks. But I don't think I see a lot of people dropping names, left and right, of players that are good, but are they actually world class? Can they actually, say they're having a season like Jude Bellingham, or having the impact that Phil Foden has, or you know Baldanzi. Baldanzi was the hottest name of the block a few months ago, right? Oh, everybody wanted the Empoli player. Everybody wanted him. Now Empoli are crap, and Baldanzi is nowhere to be found. So Gareth Bale said it best: the team that scores more goals wins. Absolutely. Cheers to Gareth Bale. A professional golfer. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of comments, and I'm getting to them just very slowly. Belotti and our. Oh, sorry. No, that I already read. Okay. Alexander, say what you want about technical skills or talent, but Belotti and Lukaku give so much more. Dybala and Pele in terms of physical presence. I don't think there is any way to argue that. It's and Lukaku has a history of that, of really being able. If you look at what he's been doing at Inter, for his both his spells, really. I mean, last season wasn't so good, but definitely something there. He's been a guy who's always had to play with somebody else. Even at Chelsea, he used to be paired up with Timo Werner, I believe. And we all know how that went, but still, it's sort of like he's been always forced to play with somebody. So I don't think that it would do him much. And, it would hinder his performances if he were to play with somebody who is so willing to collaborate as Belotti. Belotti is like like the nicest, cutest dog He's like, whatever you give me, I'll do it. I don't care. I love it. I'm having fun. I'll do anything for you. It's so great because I think we can all get behind a player like that. A player who, if Mourinho said, okay, you have to replace Rui Patricio in goal, he would do it. Uh, we've been to Bologna in the summer before the heat wave is real. Oh man, tell me about it, Bologna, because Bologna is like a valley. It's a valley, so there's no movement, there's no air moving. So that's why I'm saying get AC, get a lot of fans, and then you can move in. Bove, please extend the contract. Samuel says, Bove, Bove, Bove. Yeah, I think they will. There is they should extend Bove's contract within the end of this month, so that they can announce it before the end of the year. I think it's only reasonable, and I think both sides want the same thing. I don't think that Bove ever considered leaving Roma. Doesn't matter the minutes he was getting. I think regardless of the minutes he was getting this season, he always wanted to extend his stay. And mind you, guys, the fact that he's performing now doesn't mean that he's going to perform in the next 2 months on the same level. This is a player who's 21 years old. He's a midfielder, so this is definitely not somebody who has shown everything. This is a player who was barely playing first team football last season until the final months of the season. So let us not forget that, and let us not sort of rush with the judgments, with the hype again, or with the criticism, because these are young guys. This is much better than Roma theory. Well, thank you for complimenting the channel and for criticizing another channel. I'll do anything for the likes. No, but thank you. Good to see you, Andy. Who thinks these windows are a good idea? I don't know, man. But I guess it gives you some free time. Mourinho today, the team was back in training, so apparently Mourinho is going to spend a few days now in London. The team is going to have a few days off, but I guess that's it's only this is a very hectic schedule. These teams last season, Roma played, I believe, 55 games. So, and that was their second consecutive year of playing that many games. It just gets too much, at some point. So I guess if at least you can give a handful of players, so say Belotti or Eric Karsdorp, some time off also to to continue building on what they've been doing so far. Like Belotti, I'm sure Belotti went back to some of the games he's played, some of the performances he's given this season, and watched and thought to himself, I can do more. I'm pretty sure that that's been the case, and because it's true, that's a fact. Is this Roma team, as we said, we get caught up in the hype because they've given us 3 good games. But that doesn't erase what they've shown to begin the season with. So you can give more. As Roma, you can give more. Any team in this Serie A right now can give more. Amazing Vincent, hopefully Renato Sanchez is available for Monza or Inter. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be more Inter than Monza. Renato Sanchez is the last player that Roma want to rush back, especially after the way he went down against Sheriff, right? He plays 45 minutes against Empoli, scores, has a really good performance, and Mourinho thinks to himself, well, he's going to be able to play 45 minutes 3 days later. No, the answer is no. And so I think that injury against Sheriff in Moldova was really a big wake-up call for Mourinho and his staff. Like, sort of remember who you're dealing with. Like, this is a player that has an unparalleled injury history, and you have to take care of him. You have to watch over him because he can be special, but you can't keep putting him on there even those 3 days, and then even those 45 minutes. It's risky. Alexander, Nino, I disagree. Who developed Porto players into world-class ballers? He developed McTominay and a couple of young players at Tottenham. He built Joe, Cole, Ozil, Matic, Varane, Obi Mikel, etc. Yeah, Mourinho has done it all. I think he's now in a phase where he's more and in a team where he is required, and also he likes to be more open about involving the young players. I think he finds that now a lot to be a lot more fun than working with some veterans. And I think that Matic situation, the way Matic walked out on the team, it certainly didn't do much good to change Mourinho's perspective of now preferring to work with lesser egos, with younger players who are open to be developed. Mark says, "Hi, Andy. I believe that we have a decent team, and our bad start was mainly attributed to the team not having enough time to gel. As always, thanks for the live streams." No, thank you, Mark, for joining me. This wouldn't be anything without you guys. So, but hopefully that is the case, that it takes time. Even those minor changes that we perhaps thought were minor. So, for example, this past season, who did we sell? Ibanez. Out of the starting 11, Ibanez, and we lost Nemanja Matic. Theoretically, on paper, those are two players gone. We saw Roma in the past deal with 5, 6, 7 starters gone. This season was only 2, but perhaps we underestimated the impact that these absences could have on the team. I think Mourinho has definitely shifted towards the youth. Traditionally, he had no interest in player development of those outside of a first team. Yeah, I think it was not his choice to begin with. We all remember how upset he was the first year that he was at Roma, the first few months especially. He was very upset at the lack of options, at the lack of veterans. He made it a point always to bring up the fact that, for example, Inter, when they are in trouble, they can bring on Edin Dzeko, they can bring on this guy, that guy, and we can't bring on anybody. We have only kids. He continues to say those things, but in a different light, where he acknowledges that there is benefits to that. There's benefits to that, and he also finds it more gratifying, I guess. I get sometimes the chat closes and I have to reopen it. Leo says, "Didn't shift to the youth in net. Those missed points from Rui performance could keep us from top 4." I think there is never these are, a player can give you the points. I don't think a player can take those points back, unless it's really a brain fart of epic proportions. I think when points are dropped, it's always on the team. In regards to Zaleski, I am kind of wondering if he was actually ever playing well or just wanted him to play well. No, I think Zaleski did an awesome job to cover for Spinazzola and Matias Vigna in his first year. I mean, we all remember his presence on the left and his contribution to Roma's Conference League campaign. He was good. He was good in moving forward. He was good in defense. But I don't know, perhaps we asked too much of him in too little time. And perhaps Roma's difficult period, because this has been a difficult period. It's not been smooth sailing. Perhaps it was too much for him to not get lost, and he sort of got lost along the way in the storm. Which players on Roma do you consider world class? Well, Romelu Lukaku, Paulo Dybala, obviously. And then I believe those are it. You don't. One could have argued that Nemanja Matic was world class, but I don't think anybody else come close to that definition of a player who can really just shift and tip the balance in one favor or another. As much as I like guys like Cristante, as much as I rate now Pellegrini, Roma, I do believe, have only 2 world-class players. That was why it was a big deal even to sign somebody like Gini Wijnaldum last season. Had Gini Wijnaldum delivered, that would have been, I mean, he could, if had his leg not been broken in training, perhaps we could have been talking about Gini Wijnaldum still being here and having an awesome contribution to the team. Samuel says, PSG must be a blind team. How could they have Paredes and not know how to use him? That's why you need a special one like Jose to use players efficiently, like he's doing with Lukaku, who was written off. Well, I think because PSG have a lot of other players who maybe even, may have even more quality than Paredes. And again, you know, Paredes didn't do himself any favors by also going to Juve and completely not being able to show up for Massimiliano Allegri's team. Last season, Paredes was a no-show, and the few times that he played, it wasn't good enough. So I don't know if it's Paris Saint-Germain's only, are the only culprits in the matter. Can you explain the situation with the stadiums in Italy? Why does the government make so many delays? And it's not only in Rome. This is holding the Italian league. Absolutely, it's holding the Italian league. Because you're still looking to play the Euros, which now Italy will co-host with Turkey in a few years, in stadiums that should be closed by now. And we see how much. How many issues Roma, Fiorentina, Inter, Milan, these big teams, Inter, Milan, the stuff of dreams, the two teams that really show are representative of Italian football in the world, are not able to get their stadium approved, or even let alone the area to the stadium approved. So because it's bureaucracy because there's a lot of stakeholders that you need to take into consideration, because there is committees, because there is local politicians, there is national politics involved, there is environmentalists, there's the local population, there is the citizens who have a say in the matter. And then you add to that Italian politics, which means the government changes every 2 months, and you got yourself, a shit show of Italian proportions. If we thought Roma was depressing to follow at times, try being in Italy, fage like some of us. Yes. When Zaniolo and Tonali emerged, Pioli benched him first season, now sold. When Zaniolo emerged, media, fans attacked, and Fonseca benched him way too much. Italy tears them down too quickly. Wait, what? No, that's the Rocco. I'm sorry. But that's not true. Zaniolo. When was Zaniolo benched by Fonseca? Zaniolo wasn't benched by Fonseca. Zaniolo broke his ACL twice under Fonseca. That's the Fonseca basically never saw Zaniolo in training. Tonali, no, I don't remember Pioli ever really benching him. The fact that he may not have played as much as Benacer, sure, at the beginning because he was coming up from Brescia. True, I'll give you that. But afterwards, Tonali was a staple. So the guys that really make and similar and same thing for Zaniolo. Zaniolo before the injury and after the injury, he was constantly on the pitch. So Zaniolo comes back from that ACL, and you guys are going insane because he's not performing well after that ACL, but he's still getting those minutes. No, that's those players get and if those are world class, I mean, if Zaniolo is world class, Zaniolo was world class until that ACL. And then we saw that every magic that could have been was basically tore down after he suffered that second injury. We're so excited to be hosting Euro 2032 just because it means we don't have to qualify. Absolutely. Still nothing on Dybala renewal kind of worries me, Joey. No, Joey, I think it really comes down to Champions League qualification and if the player can deliver. It's also on Dybala's end, like it's also Roma also must make some evaluations with regards to his performances, with regards to his availability. Like we see, it's a big deal. If you're looking to extend a player like Paulo Dybala, it's a big deal if he's your marquee signing, and if you're looking to pay 6 million for him, for his salary, you must at least have some guarantee as to his fitness levels and his availability. Just like Dybala needs to have some guarantees regarding the team's chances to qualify for Champions League football. So this is, I think it's all a mutual thing. It's a conversation that Roma and his entourage are having behind the scenes, definitely. Okay, so we can also quickly mention Napoli are in a mess, and I think that's what keeps Serie A so open this season, because besides Milan, I don't think we have seen a team that really goes clicks all the time. Inter, same. They started off really well, but in that draw against the Bologna, They basically let Bologna get back into it, and they turned back the clock to the Inter of a year ago. So there is no dominating force so far in Serie A. Rudi Garcia is doing exactly what we said on the podcast Rudi Garcia would do. This is a Rudi Garcia that has been playing in the Saudi Arabia, that was kicked out of every single team in France, that has been disrespected, disliked by everybody, and now sort of made this weird comeback to the Serie A, in charge of the reigning Serie A champions, when he clearly was not the first option, nor the second, nor the third, nor the 10th option. Aurelio De Laurentiis, Napoli's president, went out of his way to openly say a few days ago that uh, that he may have made a mistake by hiring Garcia, and that he held conversations with Thiago Motta of Bologna and Luis Enrique before Luis Enrique decided to join PSG. So we already, it becomes a wide open thing. The Serie A this season. So again, that's why even when you have this bad of a start, and Roma had an awful start, nothing can be written off. Like you can't write anything off so far, especially in this league. There is no dominating force. That's a blessing in disguise. It may not do well for the image of Italian football. The fact that all teams are basically struggling with to some degree. But for a team like Roma, it leaves the pitch wide open. Atalanta are also inconsistent. Same thing with Lazio. Fiorentina, they show you glimpses of brilliance, right? And I see people get on and off the Vincenzo Italiano train, but for me, it only shows that it's unpredictable. That it's unpredictable, and you are your own master of your own fate. Like that's what Roma have to. They have to take some accountability, and they have to right now, after the international break, they can't afford to slow down. You gained momentum going into the international break. You have to get that momentum back as soon as you step back on the pitch. Last comments, and then I think we will close this live stream. Wow, guys, I'm very happy. Okay, Nicholas, curious, Andy, how do you make a living? Would love if Roma presses the answer. Well, at the moment it is. I'll be very frank with this. The website and the podcast have given me like a huge opportunity, not having to throw myself down the pit of the corporate world, which I refuse to take part into it. I'm relatively young. I don't have a family to take care of. I have to only watch out for myself. So unless as long as I live on the bare minimum, I can make my way by traveling to all over the place, and trying to make this the main source. But obviously at some point I also want to take into consideration, I would like to write. It's something that I would like to do, but will it have any success? I don't think so far right now. I don't want to write that off, just like the way you don't want to write Roma off. Well, sure. Let's see. I like the generalized Serie A convo, Andy. Well, yes, it's because I think it's fun. It's fun to we focus so much on Roma. Roma really takes so much of our time, and even emotionally, I see a lot of people who, as soon as the international break starts, they text me, "I'm done. Sorry, I'm not going to tune into the live stream. I'm not going to listen to the podcast because I can't deal with it." I totally get it, but at the same time, there is a world outside. There's other teams that are going through this, basically the same motions, again, to a lesser or higher degree. What Napoli right now are undergoing, I would never want that for a team that won the Serie A with such ease, dominating the way they did last season, playing the way they played last season, and to find themselves to open the season with Rudi Garcia, who's being questioned, Aurelio De Laurentiis, the president, who now is supposedly leading training sessions on the sideline, Antonio Conte turning them down, and basically the team not having any more of that juice that they had last season is horrendous. But same thing with Inter, teams that are Milan, teams that are have made a lot of investments and are not looking that much better than say Juventus, who now get to play once a week, and I think that could do wonders for Massimiliano Allegri. You know, it's he's the master of the shithousery. Rocco, I'm a screenwriter. Andy, what kind of writing do I aspire to do? I would, I actually tried to, I actually tried to write a few screenplays and plays in the past. I actually tried to get a play made, produced, but now I want to write fiction. The problem I have is that, well, the problem is well, perhaps a good thing is that I speak a lot of languages. Like I don't have a specific native language. Italian is not my, I speak Italian just the way I speak Polish, being half and half, and I speak English on the same level as those two languages. So for me, it's very difficult to find a language where I can write comfortably in. And I think that makes a world of difference. At the end of the day, writing is all about being true to yourself, and it's all in the language. So, but I think that's we can call it a day here with regards to the football stuff. I will be recording a podcast with John right after this. We will be coming on to discuss some more topics that we didn't mention this time around. Let's see also what happens during this international break. I know we all worry. Obviously, Romelu Lukaku is out playing for Belgium. We got Paredes playing for Argentina. We got Cristante Mancini out with Italy. We got Leonardo Spinazzola still at Trigori. I think that could be very good for Spinazzola. This is, again, a player who I think can have the impact still, but has been unable to really show up. And if there is someone who needs some time to work on himself, that's definitely Leonardo Spinazzola. So perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate everybody who tuned in today. If it was morning, afternoon, or evening, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your busy schedule to tune in and contribute. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do so. If you would like to support us on Patreon, also you can go to patreon.com/Roma Press, and we greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and hopefully we'll get to that soon. But thank you so much for your support, guys. Do zobaczenia. Yeah, thank you so much, Alexander. Thank you. We will release a new episode tomorrow, so you will be able to find that on video on YouTube and on all platforms tomorrow. So until next time, guys, until the next live stream, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Ciao.